think we are.
It's your boy A. Rucker.
It's P-Lee. We missing Marvia. I'm sorry.
Yes, he threw the whole organization off, but it's your boy Beans Franklin.
And we live from the Riverbend, man.
So,
Black Friday, I know what's going on. We got candidates in here today.
special Friday.
Guests.
Also, let me just give a shout out to my man Marvia. He check out
Date night.
Yeah, him and his wifey thing. Check
Right
out
on.
Nick Cannon. Hope y'all don't sit in the front row and get Joan though. But you know.
Right on.
Yeah, but we got my main man Joshua.
Yep.
Mr. Young.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor.
Damn.
It's always a privilege to be here
The
with
Green
y'all.
Party.
Right on.
And we
Representing
also
the Green Party today.
Representing the green. It's the green takeover, y'all. We're here. We ain't hold no punches.
Tonight anyway.
Yeah, tonight's green takeover.
And I'm Randy
Randy Auxier.
Auxier.
Wait, Oxtail.
Oxtail.
I didn't want to mess it up.
Sir.
Dang it, Oxtails.
Everybody out there?
Oxcord.
This
My
is
main
our
man Randy, man. He
Randy
took,
Auxier.
he took his hat off, y'all. Y'all don't even know how cool that was. Though.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I feel like
the hat. Yeah, you gotta have the hat on.
I feel like he
just
got
for
a
a second.
whip.
You gotta have it on all night.
I feel like he has a whip somewhere that he can just like knock a cigarette
Lord.
out your mouth.
I'm having Red Dead flash.
Well, this is our
Dead
green
flashbacks.
congressional candidate. He's
For
running for Congress.
For Congress.
I am.
For Congress.
Yeah.
It's in D.C.
That's what's up.
Yeah, that's the big job.
So
That's
when you
yeah.
get out there, they give you a house or you gotta rent it.
No, actually, the way it works, I looked this up just in case I win. You get $1 million a year for staff and expenses. And so you got to pay anybody who's going to be on your staff and whatever it costs to live there. Out of that, so it's like an allowance, $1 million a year.
Okay. I don't know what Ted Cruz' wife talking about, but
What is your main
and then,
job?
What is the main job? Well, I mean, if you get elected, are you talking about now? Or are you talking about if I get elected?
If you get elected.
Well, I guess my main job would be to bring businesses to Southern Illinois and
people
to try to set straight some long-standing injustices.
There you
and,
go.
you definitely
speak
need some
truth
of
to
that.
power and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. I mean, I'm guessing that if they send me to Washington, that the press has never really seen anything quite like me, and so I could get a lot of attention out of that for our district.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, I wouldn't waste that opportunity.
Man, y'all better be out there clapping on that. Y'all better be out there like, yes, bitch.
Now, y'all
some
got to
attention.
remember, this gentleman is running against, I mean, we've seen the commercials of the Republicans and the Democrat, Mike Bost and Brendan Kelly.
Right.
You know, this is the third candidate in that race. So where, you know, they're running off of these, you know, big money back, platforms where they can put out all this negative campaign. None of them are really talking about, well, what are we going to do for you as the people?
Yeah, exactly.
They're just kind of arguing with each other on this is his bad point, this is his bad point.
Exactly.
You know, this is, you know, I'm thankful for Live on the Riverbend that you guys will bring in that third candidate that the people don't see through regular media because they're only showing those two. So, you know, everybody out there, you know, clap it up for this group because they're actually giving you more information than your local media is really giving you by exposing you to that third candidate and that third ideology.
Okay, Josh, I have a question for you. So what is it that you're running for?
I'm running for County Board District 10.
Okay, and what is it that you will be doing if you get elected?
Well, what I'm proposing is, when I spoke to you earlier, I said I don't drink with the politicians when we all meet up. I won't drink with them. They have an open bar, and I refuse to use that open bar.
Yeah.
But, you know, I drink with my people. You know what I'm saying? That's different, so I drink with the people. But, you know, what I'm proposing is, one, that there's an addendum to the Human Rights Act and the Crime and Witness Protection Act that the media refrain from putting a victim of a violent crime, their criminal history. You know, and that should be refrained from doing so until the preliminary process is done.
Yeah.
Until the jury selection process is done. Because the prosecution and defense, they're going to weigh all of that criminal history out in the preliminary process. They're going to go through all of that during the court process.
And they out here just giving it to the public.
They just out there giving it to the public before sometimes even the perpetrator is caught.
Exactly.
When it comes to gun violence. And, you know, and that's a violation of the last rights, especially when the person is killed.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, our families are grieving. We don't want to see that.
Right,
know.
exactly.
Bring up something in the 8th grade, he hit somebody with a book, and you'd be like, man, what does that got to do with the person to your child?
Now, the second major thing, these 2 points I'm bringing are things that we can act on now.
Yeah.
I don't have to win.
Yeah.
You know, they're already, this law is already on the book. You know, the amendment that I'm trying to press for, whoever wins the seats, like Mr. Auxier, he wins that seat. We have a support towards that amendment change right there. We have a co-sponsor and the voice says, hey, I'll take that for the people and run with it.
Yeah.
But the second thing is House Bill 0736. It's a bill that's already on the record. It's already law. And, the current governor, he hasn't funded it in the budget. The opponent, JB, he hasn't spoken about trying to get funding to these types of laws.
Buying sweater vests.
What this does is this grants money year after year. It's an annual grant for people in subsidiaries classes to receive business money. You can start small business. Now, in small towns, small businesses really drive up economics.
Yes.
So if you want to raise the grade of the city, if you want to raise the purchasing capacity of the people, the citizens, then you bring in the ability for them to easily create small businesses for themselves. And this is a House bill that was sponsored, voted on, passed, and it just needs advocacy so that way it can have funds to go into it. I win this election, I'm opening up the door so that way we can press for those funds to come directly to Madison County and directly into Alton. Okay. So it'll be like easy creation of incubation groups. Now, the second thing I would do, of course they talk, Bass, well, what would you do about property taxes? Property tax. Now, this, I'm speaking to the real voters out there. By the numbers, there are way more voters that are renters than property owners.
Yeah, you're right.
So while they're talking, what are you going to do about property taxes? They're only talking to a specified voting demographic.
Right.
Stakeholders. But I want to talk to the people. I want to be the word and voice and carry the interests of the people to turn them from renters to property owners.
There you go.
That's where I stand when it comes to how would I move along and becoming a county board representative for District 10 is, I'm bringing about progression. All things progressive, I'll be moving towards. And with following the city and kind of, working hand in hand with the city of Alton, it's moving. I'll be all about that advocacy. Let's get businesses going.
There you go.
Now, some people might not know exactly. They might have senators and congressmen mixed up. What actually does a congressman do?
Well, there's 435 of them in the U.S. as opposed to 100 senators. So we got an upper house and a lower house is the way they describe it in the Constitution. The folks who are in the House of Representatives, the 435, they are all up for re-election every 2 years. And the idea behind that is that they answer more directly to the people. That's why you have to run for your seat again every 2 years. Senators serve for 6 years. And there's I guess the idea originally was that they were elected by state assemblies. But there was a constitutional amendment back in the 1920s that changed that made senators directly elected. It sort of changed what the basic idea was. Originally, the thought was the senators would represent the interests of the states, whereas the U.S. representatives, the House of Representatives, would represent the people. That was the original idea. Now, at this point, the only difference between a senator and a Congress, somebody in the House of Representatives, is that there's only 100 of the senators, and since they have to pass anything that becomes a federal law, and there's only 100 of them, it's a much more elite crowd.
Right.
Plus, they're there for a longer period of time, and that's not a bad idea to have, folks who are up constantly who answer directly.
Yeah.
If they're not, if you're not getting represented, you can vote that guy out in 2 years.
Right.
On the other hand, people usually don't. People don't vote their representative out.
Right.
People get in there, they stay in there for, forever, till they die.
Yeah. Then they brag about it like, well, I've been here for forever. Well, that's because no one paid attention to you.
Well, what happens is nobody likes Congress, but everybody likes their own representative, or at least better than the alternative. The devil you know, better than the devil you don't know.
Yeah. Right.
People always say, well, man, I'm tired of Congress. Well, who's your congressman? I don't know.
I don't know.
You're like, who are you tired of?
Yeah, that is crazy.
So You know, I know within my community, people have been saying for the longest, voting don't matter, man. Voting don't count.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I used to be one thinking that voting mattered to a certain point, but they was gonna pick who they wanted. Mm-hmm. This election for sure, this past election for sure showed me like, yo, man, that voting matters because even people in his party didn't think that
they
was
didn't
going to
think
happen.
he was going to win.
They didn't think that was going to happen.
He was already. He was
they
already.
woke up that next day like
He was already saying it's rigged. It's rigged. It's.
Yeah.
I won't.
I got voted in.
Never mind.
Never mind.
So, tell the people why voting does matter.
Well, the first thing is you got to remember how much people have been through in order to get that.
Oh, my grandfather told me that. I told him this last election. I told him this last election. I said, "Man, Grandpa, I don't know if I'm voting because I don't, I'm kind of out on this one." He almost stopped the car, pulled it up. Man, no, you gonna vote. I'm gonna tell you why you gonna vote. And after he gave me that speech, I'm like, you know what? I'm never gonna not try to vote again.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of suffering has been when the United States first started. Basically, you had to be a white male landowner in order to vote.
Wow.
And voting was really, it was regarded as a privilege, the privilege of those who Joshua likes to call them those who have a stake already.
Right.
And that's how they maintained their power. And so over the history of the country, as more and more people got the right to vote, first people who didn't have land got the right to vote, and then after the Civil War, African American males got to vote, and they wasn't until 1920 when women got to vote. And then the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which by the way is in serious trouble right at the moment because the Supreme Court has already turned over part of that decision. But that's the one that all those civil rights leaders, Robert Moses and John Lewis, those guys went down to Mississippi and rode through Alabama because there are a million different ways. So here's the reason people don't think it matters. The Federal Election Commission lets states determine how the vote is going to happen in their state. And so it's different from one state to the next.
Yep.
And what that means is that the Secretary of State, who is always going to be the person, of Illinois or of Georgia or whatever.
It's been Jesse White for a while.
They can make up rules that make it harder or easier to vote. That Voting Rights Act of 1965 was supposed to put a curb on that so that everybody got to vote. But I can tell you, in my lifetime, I was born in 1961. In my lifetime, things have really changed from the way they were. I grew up in Memphis, which was segregated, and there was Jim Crow, and I remember it. So I guess I'm probably the same age as your grandfather, but anyway, but I remember what it was like when I was a kid. Dr. King was killed 3 miles from my house as the crow flies. I remember what it was like when I was a kid. It isn't like that now. And voting is one of the main reasons that it's different. Some of it has to do with the way the mass culture has changed and has evolved in a lot of very interesting ways. But it's not just that. Sometimes I think that it's because people could vote that the mass culture changed, not necessarily the other way around. And so anyway, look, the vote has mattered in the past. You saw what happened in the 2016 election. You wake up tomorrow, and all of a sudden, the most hateful person in the United States is your president.
That's when I still be like, man, Donald Trump is the president.
Hard to believe.
I really do feel like that night I said it to him, man, he opened the door for everybody now. Like,
I feel like he does, though. He does.
Clayton Kershaw is going to run for president one day. You're like, what, Kershaw? You couldn't even win a World Series game. What's wrong with you?
Well, I'd sooner have Clayton Kershaw.
Trump.
Almost anybody. I don't like the Dodgers at all. And I see what hat you've got on. So.
I don't got no stake in that.
Okay,
I'm a Yankees fan, man.
Okay.
They don't talk about baseball right now. I'm just.
But
anyway,
I got a question though. So is there a relationship between the senator and the congressman?
Yes and no. So they serve in different houses. The main relationship is that both houses have to pass federal laws in order for them to be signed into law, and then the president has to sign it.
Right.
So we've got 18 representatives from Illinois. We got 2 senators. The 18 representatives sort of form the Illinois caucus. The 2 senators sort of form our voice in the Senate.
Okay.
The 2 senators have a lot more in common with one another, and the 18 House of Representatives people have more in common with one another. But since they both have to work together in order to get laws passed, they've got that in common. They all know each other. So there's 435 representatives, there's 100 senators. That means your life is being run by 536 people, because you add in the president. Right. Yeah. And that says because he's the guy who has to sign it once it passes the upper and lower house. So if the House passes one version of a bill and the Senate passes a slightly different version, they go to what's called a conference committee, and the senators and the congressional representatives work out compromise language, and then that's what goes to the president.
Did the senators walk in like Conor McGregor and shit?
Like they the shit?
Yep.
Well, they carry themselves a a little more proudly than your typical
State
House,
representative.
or state
county board.
Walk in looking like King Gaddafi Joker and shit.
It's a pretty
Rose petals and shit.
Roses at my feet.
It's a pretty elite.
They do seem elite. They do seem elite. But the
Olympians, that's what
the importance of voting. And most of us watched the Oprah Winfrey speaking for Stacey Abrams, and she spoke about some wonderful things. And the news likes to pull out, captions, and have people kind of focus on the captions. And I want to say that we want to, what this is about. What I'm here for is just to not hold the punches and give education, give information. It's not about the win. It's about what the people know about the candidates that are going to be representing you for the number of years moving forward. Yeah. Now, we can hold them accountable starting November 7th. We can start making sure that, he as our Congress representative, whoever we choose as our other representatives in the judicial and the representative districts. November 7th, we can hold them accountable, but for right now, it's time for the people to be informed.
Right.
So Oprah Winfrey says, you do your ancestors an injustice by not voting by what they went through. Yes. Yeah. But if you look at the two-party rhetoric and you cross-reference history upon that, I will say my ancestors are going to be upset, but when I ask my ancestors, what party are you upset with? They're going to say the Democratic Party.
Right.
Because then,
at that time, right.
The time when there was the atrocities and all of the real,
and it changed in like
issues.
Between the 30s and the 40s.
No, it was the early 60s.
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah, what
60s.
happened was, so they used to have these Democrats who were called Dixiecrats.
Right.
Super conservative, segregationist Democrats. And it had been really hard for them to stay in the Democrat Party as Franklin Delano Roosevelt and others. That's your 30s and 40s, because the Democrats started going really to the progressive and to the left.
Far left, yeah.
And so those Dixiecrats declared their own party in 1948 and split off. But then they healed the rift. Probably wasn't a good idea. But when things really started to change was 64, 65, when the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, and then 1968, the Fair Housing Act, this is all passed by Democrats. And so the racists in the Democrat Party, they became Republicans. And increasingly, it used to be that the wicked dudes were the Democrats.
Right.
They were the dangerous dudes. They were the ones that
who started the KKK.
They're the ones that you were afraid to bring that ticket through the doorway because they were waiting on the other side.
But those guys are Republicans now.
Yeah.
They gravitated beginning. So there's a story. Lyndon Johnson was president when the Civil Rights Act was signed. It was 1964. His press secretary, a guy named Bill Moyers, came into the Oval Office right after Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, and Johnson was sitting there going. And Bill Moyers said, "You just signed some of the most important legislation of the century. You're sitting here all gloomy and stuff." And he says, "I just gave the South to the Republicans for the next 50 years.
Oh, wow.
That's true.
It's true. It's
that was absolutely true, too. And he said it.
Yeah. He knew what would happen because, of course, he was from Texas.
Yeah, Lyndon
so
Johnson
he would
said
know
he said some, I can't even say questionable. He said a bunch of racist shit.
Oh,
yeah,
there's no way he wasn't a racist.
Yeah, back then.
Well, now here we fast forward to our importance of voting and the rhetoric being red or blue, but here you have this green takeover here, and our 10 key values, are more in line with, people out there. You see like the Me Too movement. The Green Party is more in line with, issues and dealing with feminist issues and stuff like that, supporting women. When it comes to the issues of Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, those issues are more aligned to the 10 key values of the Green Party. When it comes to social justice and civil rights, those are, within that platform that we're here saying that we're taking over. Now we know political science and the money and the numbers and the media, all of that is going to make it difficult for individuals like ourselves who really are coming with that, all I can do is represent the people's value. Yeah. That's all we can do.
Yep, that's right.
Or fall in line with either two-party machine. Now, later on, we'll cover, the ballot as the two parties are, but the importance of voting is looked at in a way that, you can't be a one-topic voter. Actually look at your candidates, actually, try and get engaged with what it is that they're saying for your financial, social, economic class. Take a look at yourself and what you want to see for yourself and your family in 5 years, and then match that with that candidate's platform. There you go. And if he's speaking that language, he or she is speaking that language, like Judge Smith, Sarah Smith, we'll come to her. But if they're speaking that language, that's the person, regardless of which party that they're from.
That's what I've said.
That's the person that you want to have running in your corner.
Yeah.
I've said that too.
That's the importance of the vote.
I was trying to tell a certain somebody on Facebook that, you gotta go with whoever fits your lifestyle the best. Quit thinking that the whole thing is a joke. You know what I'm saying? Because, why do we vote? You know what? There's a bunch of people out there that don't want you to vote. Yeah. That would hope that a whole bunch of us take your stance and don't even get involved in the situation. Yeah. They're going to be sitting back like, cool, bet. Because guess what? You vote or not, somebody's getting in there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody's getting in there, and they're going to do stuff without you or with, with you. It doesn't matter.
And when you sit back after the elections and say, maybe 6 months down the line or 8 months down the line, when those people who've been elected and their parties are comfortable with who's sitting there and what we're going to do to move forward, and you complain, well, how come they're not focusing on my demographic?
We
want issues with this, and we want those issues with that. It's because they're focused on what their base is worried about first. Yeah. They're going to worry about that first, their base. Yeah. And in this two-party system, when there are multiple parties and independents and just different groups out there that represent the people's interests when they go up, instead of just those two parties, we have to be a little more involved in what we allow to even take that stand to represent us.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm tired of hearing about immigration. I'm like, dude, that does not affect me. I'm sorry. I don't care about it. The 7,000 people, 7,000 immigrants, if I go to Texas right now, I'm not going to even see 7,000 immigrants. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to feel that.
I mean, you are, but I know what
you mean. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to feel that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, stop it. Stop it. They'll end up in one city. You know what I'm saying? Leave me alone about that.
I'm going to say something that possibly get me in trouble, but you'd be surprised at how easily white people are frightened.
Oh
no, you wouldn't be surprised at all. That's all there is to it. It's thinly veiled racism, and it's anti-Latino racism in this case. But I mean, this conjures a picture in the minds of Mr. Middle America and Mrs. Middle America of all these brown-skinned people coming in.
And I noticed the uptake of it. For one, they've been talking about, they've been in the last, I'd say about 3.5 years. That MS-13 talk got ramped up real hard. I mean, Tucker Carlson hits the streets and he goes and does an interview with the MS-13 former gang member and stuff like this. I'm like, man, that gang's been around since the 80s. And they keep talking about something. That's how, they're bringing in MS-13 that's coming across the border. I'm like, y'all do realize that's an American street gang, right?
Yeah.
That's, that's an American street gang made of foreigners, that had to make a gang.
Yeah.
Either
to
way.
survive.
Either way,
that's a whole gang conversation. That's a whole
But anyway, the point is they're just trying to scare folks, and they know that it doesn't affect most of us in terms of our lives.
Drops a video, was it yesterday on his Twitter, of the Mexican dude who killed somebody and.
Yeah, Trump is the champion of it, man. He's able to take something that he knows doesn't matter, he doesn't care about, but other people are worried and scared about it, and he can use that and weaponize it.
That's what he does.
Well, now I want to, because I always like to keep everything relevant to, where we are. And a lot of times, especially when it comes to politics, they take your local and your federal level politics and they confuse you in the media. They're talking federal state. And they're not telling you local state.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're here to do is tell
Trump,
you local state.
I thought he was going.
Now, if that would make me upset with Oprah, because it's like your studio is right there,
right?
But we got Chirac,
right?
And you make excuse of it.
I argue with people about that all the time, and I always got to tell people: find me a time where Chicago had under 200 murders. There's finally a time
when they didn't have high murder rates.
When it didn't,
it's the culture.
You have to go back to the 19th century to find that.
Yeah.
I actually looked it up. It was like 1913.
Was it? Okay.
Murder game has been away in Chicago for
Capone. Shit, what was that? You know what I'm saying?
That's Al Capone in there. Like,
for
that's just what Chicago is. Okay.
Scary.
It just is what it is. But so in this state election, who's the candidates?
Okay, well,
you want to talk about governors?
Who's on the ballot?
I mean,
Yeah,
right?
There we go.
Man, I got to be honest with you. I can't.
Let's go get him started.
And that's the thing, with myself, and I don't know how Randy particularly feels about it being from the Green, but I know political science and I look at the numbers, and I know, when people go to the polls, right now, just in today's paradigm, there's still two-party. There's still, voting blind Democrat, voting blind Republican. There's very few mixed. And, I was kind of amazed that when I did a couple of surveys, a few polls, it did show that some people were doing mixed, mixed voting where they're voting Republican or Democrat. But, on this one, let's start with the governor,
Start at the top.
We start at the top. And I want to say that, I'm just going to give it the way I saw it. A lot of these candidates I spoke with, like this gentleman at that same Chamber of Commerce, there I spoke with Mayor Hal Patton, who's, he's running against Monica Bristow, and they're running for state representative position. So I got a chance to hear his perspective and give him the opportunity to try and clarify what our demographic is asking. What about blackface?
Yeah.
That's one of those real questions that I stayed in his face. I gave him an opportunity to do a recording to put on Facebook like I did for Cash Jackson. He refused it, but, he said, I'll talk to you about it anyway.
Okay.
But he never went to the blackface. He never went to the blackface. And to me, as a minority voter, let's get that out the way first. Be real with me. Let's get that out the way first.
Somebody needs to make a law about it. Something needs to happen to you with just making random police calls on black people. I'm out here.
That's kind of terroristic.
Well, I think Senator Booker. Was it Senator Booker? I know there is someone that is pressing to have that.
That really needs to happen.
It needs some kind of deterrent.
Somebody pressing for that
because it's happening so much.
Yeah.
And I don't know
it's
if
like a go-to move.
Yeah,
and I've been saying I don't know if it's one of the things that has always been happening. We just didn't pay attention to it as much.
True.
Or if camera phones
are
making it more of a thing, or if it's just the times that we're in, the climate that we're in, where people are feeling emboldened.
I feel like it's been. I think it's been happening.
It's been happening.
But and now with social media and with cell phones where you can record things, now it's just being put out there.
It's being caught more. It's been happening, but people are feeling emboldened by not only our president, just by,
right.
Yeah.
Because it's beyond him.
They revved up.
He's
just revved everybody.
Are we not residents of Madison County?
Like Jason said.
Now we got to remember, Madison County was Madison Country at one point in time. Madison Country existed prior to Illinois existing as a state.
Okay.
So, at this point, Madison Country, huge. St. Clair as a individual, he bought slaves to this area for agricultural purposes. Now, Illinois went through some of the strongest, black laws and, where if you were in the state as a black man for longer than 10 days, I believe it was, you were caught, arrested, and put back into slavery, whether you were free or not.
Are you serious?
They could just tear up your papers.
That was kind of the norm, though. But
we got to know that here in Madison County has been Madison County, St. Clair County, Cook County.
Yeah.
For Illinois.
Yeah.
Now, the importance of voting is that we've been here. Our legacy is here, white, black, and different.
Yeah.
We've been through those black laws. We've been through those segregations. We've been through all of the, the rhetoric of hate and dissension. But through the vote, you have an opportunity to actually say you stand by something that won't continue. You stand by a person that won't allow that same old conservative rhetoric, whether say, oh, it's far left or far right. There are far right red, there's far right blue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And when we look at the far right red, the far right blue in Madison County, the state of Illinois, they're looking at those stakeholders. Mm-hmm. And we're speaking to the demographic of people who are voters and not yet stakeholders. Mm-hmm. We're speaking to those people to say, hey, we're trying to become stakeholders. We're trying to make you stakeholders. And, your vote matters towards the candidate that's going to achieve that purpose for you. Yeah. And we're not seeing that in this this election. I'm not seeing it in the midterms. I spoke to everybody. They're not speaking to our demographic. The blue is still expecting for us to fear Trump and vote blind blue out of the fear of Trump and what he's doing.
They're even coming out with, if you elect me, we really gonna get him now. We really gonna get him up out of there. We gonna subpoena everything. We gonna find out.
Right.
Well, but man, am I gonna get some more money in my pocket?
Exactly. While you getting him, what laws are you passing to make my life better?
That's how people really, at the end of the day, most of the times that's how they vote, is with their pocketbook. Yeah. Oh, you gonna give me some more bread? I like you.
Got my vote.
I like you.
Or they vote to stop a situation because they're fearful of a situation. So they'll go out and say, okay, I want to vote because this candidate is going to stop the illegal immigrants from coming in. And, that's another thing that I kind of got a sore tooth with, that the rhetoric about our country is founded on immigrants. Our country is founded on immigrants.
Yes.
Now, the biggest question I ask for America on empirical value, I know you're big on philosophy.
That's what I do for a living.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Is when America says immigrants, do they consider the ancestors of slave, backgrounds? Do they consider us immigrants?
Yeah.
They usually say, the scholars anyway, they say immigrants, voluntary and involuntary.
Right. Yeah.
It's an involuntary immigrant.
I always gotta tell people too. Sometimes they talk about immigrants. I be like, well, I mean, when'd your peoples get over here? Ellis Island, because. I'm just saying, my people's built the docks that the boats came into.
No, I love history, and I will say there are descendants of African peoples from North America, or peoples from North America of African descent that did not come over slave descended.
Right. It was something that was just, it was a lot. It was a lot that was just already here.
Yeah.
But now, let's hit the boat. Rauner, he's red. Pritzler, he's blue.
Right.
We got Cash, who I put the video out, and the conservative.
Yeah, the Christian conservative, that's McCann. He's the guy who, well, let's just say he wants to make America great, really great again.
Really great.
Really great again.
Really great again. Hey, Ron. Oh my goodness, I probably need a shot on that one.
Shots there, y'all.
Y'all see I took my shot
I'm
already.
afraid.
Oh, Lord.
I'm so afraid of really great
I
again.
took my shot. Hey, I'm sorry. I beat y'all to it.
That's a scary.
I'm gonna come
back
to that.
You gonna come back to that?
Really great.
I don't generally partake of things that strong.
No, you're not. No, of course, sir. You're the gentleman. You're the senior in our party. We don't have a dog in this fight.
No,
we don't have a
no,
pony
I'm
in this
not
fight.
voting for any of them. I can't vote for governor this time.
Can't vote.
No, so I got two billionaires who self-financed their campaign trying to buy the governorship.
Right.
Then I got the guy who's going to make America really great again. He's well to the right of Trump. And then we got Cash. Now, I met him.
Right.
He's an intense dude. Did you?
I did an interview with him.
He's intense. He's an intense dude. I respect.
He's an ex-Marine, right?
Yeah.
Navy.
Yeah. He came out of the military. I respect his chutzpah, his willingness his drive, his willingness to go in there. But I'll tell you, I disagree with him about almost everything.
Hey, that's facts.
Now you got to remember that's a wonderful thing about true educationally informed voting. Is that just because there are names there doesn't mean you have to check them.
That's true.
Now you can vote for the ones you know. You can vote for the ones that are important for you, or you could say, okay, I want to take one for the team, and I'm going to check in the Democrat because I'm a Democrat. I'm going to check in the Republican because I'm a Republican. But you can, take your stands, or if you was in the cabinet, you take your kneel and say, I'm not giving either one of them my vote because I don't want to be a participant to what the one that wins may do.
Yeah.
Right? Now just think if you vote blue and you vote red, but you really don't have a like him, you really don't have a real care for any of the candidates, but you just check one of the boxes and that person wins. Your vote matters.
Yeah. Right? You know what? I'm glad that you told me that because I was one of those people, I guess when I voted, I felt like something had to be checked, no matter what. I was obligated.
I would actually almost try to find the smallest of something that I agree with them.
Exactly.
I do like steak burgers too. I
fucks with you. I was like, I like this person's name, which is so messed up and girly to me.
Well, in the case of Cash Jackson, he changed his name.
He changed his name.
I mean, that's a cool name.
So it is a cool name. It's too cool.
It's real cool.
See?
His name is like
people vote for you.
Cool.
Like Cash.
His original name was Wiedermeyer or something.
Window Weedle.
Window Weedle.
Oh, you can't win with that name. You can't win with that name. That's exactly
I would have said no.
I
can't even pronounce your name.
Pokemon.
Doesn't he have pride in his family? I mean, what
he could have ran on that.
Great grandfather Window Weedle.
I guess I'm glad that I'm young because I'm sticking with it. That's what it's gonna be.
Window Weedle looking there.
Window Weedle.
See, I look at Josh Young. If I didn't know you, I'd be like, okay, Josh Young. Josh is a common name. Young. I want to be young forever. Okay.
Just like that. Like that. You gotta vote.
Just like that.
Just like that. And hopefully with the Christians, they'll say, oh, it's Joshua.
Yes.
Christians out there, I love y'all. Grandma, she went to St. James. Love y'all. Right on.
Now, do you have a favorite or a pick or?
For governor.
For governor.
I'm kind of like him. The billionaires was doing their thing and fighting it out, but they really didn't speak the language. Pritzker had the opportunity to show. I tried to catch him, couldn't catch him. Then, my counterparts was up in Chicago bashing him during the primaries.
Ooh.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
busting in on him in there with them pimps and preachers.
So I gotta go with my own team.
The boys was in there with pink and yellow suits on. I was like, oh, y'all got some hoes in the bag. Okay.
So, on that one, I haven't voted yet, and I'm kind of like my senior on that one.
It was hard for me to say I'm not going to vote for anybody. I mean, I turned it over. I worried about it for weeks.
That's why I haven't voted yet.
But I finally came down. My wife said, all right, what are we going to do? I was like, man, I can't vote for these guys.
Man, I really felt like that this last election. That was a hard vote for me. I ain't going to lie. I've never.
Oh, yeah. Last election was a hard vote.
Well, so
it was hard.
Yeah.
Well, now for Attorney General, we got Erica Holder. She's a Republican. Kwame Raoul, he's a Democrat. Erica Holder.
Is she?
No, she's not. She's not.
That's crazy.
Man, they just should have lied about that. It was like, it is.
Should be like,
And then there's a Libertarian in that race, too.
Is that where they can they vote early right there?
They can follow him. His name
Okay. Well, y'all can if y'all don't know because we got the ballot right in front of us.
Yeah, we got
if
the
y'all
ballot.
want to check out who we talking about on the ballot, y'all can go to ballotready.org and check out all the candidates and stuff and
get all the information you need.
All the information you need, man, and get your vote on, man. I care about who I'm voting for and I care about who I want in there, but you should vote. It's
your power.
It's your power
to the system.
It's your right.
Yeah.
You don't even get the you can't even get the right to wear your seatbelt or not. You know what I'm saying? But this right here though.
Now, Attorney General. Now, this is a position that you know, when it comes,
it's really important.
Very important.
These are the ones who hold
man.
everybody to the laws.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Including the government.
What laws are important.
government.
Yeah, all of Who? Erica Holder?
Erica
Is that
Harrell.
Miss America?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, she's Miss America.
We gonna have a fine.
Might have Adrian's vote already.
They're gonna vote just because she's pretty.
Just because. That's it.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, she's a Republican.
She gonna bust it open though.
She's a Republican.
Come on, you can't be Miss
You are
America
so
without being a
sexy.
Republican.
You can't be Miss America without being a Republican.
That's deep. That's deep
Now,
right there.
now, wait. Now, let me give you information about the stats. Something that a lot of people didn't realize when I interviewed them. Say, hey, did you know that, you know, when it comes to status and social classes of black people, you know, lower social class, middle social class, upper social class, a lot of the upper social class black people are Republicans.
Because they want to keep their money.
They're Republicans.
Yep.
A lot of the mid to upper black social class, they're Republican. Almost as if, you know, you get your doctorate, gotta be Republican. You know what I'm saying? You get a professor, gotta be Republican.
Yeah, you hanging
Yeah.
you up
You
there
wanna
hanging with people
be-
that's gonna pass you a cigar. Hey,
Now,
tell you something.
and I look at it as like, is this a take back on eugenics? Like, I gotta go way over to London and pull up Sir Francis, whatever his name is, and chat with him on supremacies and stuff like that. We don't have to, you know, for me, like I said, I don't have
I don't care about
pony in most of these races because they're not green, you know, and even past the Green Party, I would say I'm gonna deal with what the people is gonna do.
Right.
You know, even past that, but the Green Party aligns with that so much, so I'm cool. But, you know, this position, this Attorney General position, this was the position that the advocates from Illinois and the advocates from Missouri got together because on their side, they deal with the Sunshine State Law. Same thing as our Freedom of Information Act. Now, the Attorney General is the one that regulates this stuff. So when it came to that police killing in Michael Brown, that video request goes to the Attorney General, and it's the Attorney General who decides to release that information. The Attorney General, when I started off in criminological, you know, fashion here in Alton, dealing with the police and stuff like that, the Attorney General was a big tool for me. It was something that I used, and I asked Kwame Ramos. Now, I'm not holding any punches because I spoke to a lot of the candidates. I asked him, I said, will you make it easier to get binding? Not non-binding. We want binding, something that forces local administrations to give us the information we want.
Right.
You know.
Because that Laquan McDonald video, they held on to that for a minute.
Wow.
And then wanted to come out. And then when it came out, they was
We want this
upset.
stuff done easily. I asked them about getting binding agreements. I asked them about, you know, having the some of the positions that was faded away, like internal affairs for investigations of police officers. Those departments all, you know, phased away. You know.
So hold on, there ain't no more internal affairs?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to get in internal affairs.
That TV show
you know,
went off
from
in the
what I
90s.
understand.
Damn.
The state of Illinois, when I guess Browner allowed them to slash budgets and slash positions and decrease, which is what we'll come to when it comes to should we abolish township. Kind of same
that's
thing.
deep. That's deep right there.
From what I understand, and of course my senior will correct me with these things, but you know, that Attorney General position, is African American. Some people in Chicago, like some NAACP branches, are saying, no, we're not supporting them. Some are supporting them. It's kind of flipped. But between the two candidates, what would you say?
Oh, I'm going with Kwame,
Kwame all the way.
And it's basically for the reasons that you say. I think he's much more likely to force local authorities to release information that's needed to the public. But in addition to that, I think he's much more likely to hold the state officials to minimum rules of legality. Okay. Now, Illinois has raised corruption to a fine art. This is no longer just an art. I'm not suggesting that anybody who comes out of the Chicago system is going to be completely clean from that. But what I do think, and it's a strange thing, if you look back at Lisa Madigan's term, I mean, nobody likes Mike Madigan. Right. Like, I think we agree that there's a real problem in this state. But she brought lawsuits for the unions to stop Bruce Rauner from breaking collective bargaining agreements. And if she hadn't done that, the governor would have gotten away with essentially breaking the collective bargaining agreements with the unions all over the state. Yeah. If the attorney general doesn't do that, well, I think Kwame will do that. I just don't know about Eric. I don't know about Eric. And
think about your vote, bro.
Yeah.
You see, I'm over here like, they doing what with the unions?
Yeah. Bruce Rauner tried to invalidate all of the municipal employees and county employees and state employees' collective bargaining agreements, saying that the state didn't have to honor that agreement. And Lisa Madigan sued him. Man, and because of her suit, those agreements stayed in place. So the AFSCME was able to hold on to its medical insurance. I mean, so we're talking about all of the state, all of the county, all the municipal employees in Illinois. Tens of thousands of people would have lost essentially their medical coverage if Rauner had gotten his way. He just didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
and so an attorney general is somebody who's in a position to stop something like that. He says, "No, Mr. Governor, that's illegal."
So can the AG on the state level do something about the criminal reform?
Yes, absolutely. That's another thing. So the attorney general is essentially the chief law enforcement agent of the whole state. Right. So anything that happens in law enforcement in Illinois technically falls under this office. And so you got some problem with, well, I mean, you were talking about the Laquan McDonald tape. You got some kind of problem with inadequate sunshine on something that the public really deserves to know. Right. The chief law enforcement official in the state is the attorney general. So do I trust Kwame? I don't know, but more than the
you say you don't know if you trust him, but you know who I don't trust.
I don't exactly trust Lisa Madigan, who's leaving that office either, but she's better than the alternative as far as I can see.
Well, yeah, so Kwame is on that way. So now we move to Secretary of the State. It's hands down.
We all
Everybody
know.
Vote Jesse White. Just know. Check Jesse White.
Is anybody else's name on that party?
Jesse ain't even gonna wake up that day.
We are talking to the people.
But this is actually, so we all know Jesse's going to win, and we all know he's done a great job. Right. But this office is incredibly important. This is the very thing that's going on in Georgia right now, where Stacey Abrams is running. Really? She's running against the Secretary of State of Georgia, and he's trying to cage votes. And Secretary of State is the person who does that. That's right.
Oh, wow.
So part of
did you see the Supreme Court just voted against him today? In Georgia, you don't have to be a U.S. citizen to get a driver's license.
Right.
So down there, they voted because they were trying to say that, well, they don't know if these people were citizens because they don't have driver's license. So he was stopping a lot of people who just didn't have driver's license from voting. So they stopped that, but they still haven't changed. I can't remember what the law is to where people's names are messed up.
The perfect match. Yeah. So whatever the federal record is, it has to match whatever ID.
They don't think they're going to change that by Tuesday.
Well, actually, what happened was, I did hear about this. What happened was they said that as long as people bring 2 forms of ID with them, which means a driver's license and a state registered ID or a passport or a social security card, 2 forms of ID with them to satisfy the poll watchers, they can vote.
Now, mind you, here in Illinois, our voting laws are pretty good. So while we're on Secretary of State and talking about Jesse White, he's made Illinois an extremely lenient state to get the vote in.
That's exactly right.
You know, so I'm talking about you can go in with no ID. You can do so many things
like Mississippi
here in Illinois.
Because they know
it's a
they're
going to let you vote.
Portion of a certain demographic that doesn't have a driver's license because, for one, they don't drive. Then you got a bunch of old people who aren't gonna drive. So what do you need a driver's license for? But then they make it to where you need that to vote, and those people want to vote, but they know that they can't vote. So
Jesse White has made Illinois one of the most voter-friendly states in the United States.
In the United States, good job. So we know he deserves it.
Jesse.
I mean, like I said, we might be green, but we're going to give you the truth. We're going to give you the truth about what we know and what we can provide for the voters out there. For comptroller, Darlene Singer is Republican, Susanna Mendoza is Democrat, and Claire Ball is the Libertarian. Democrat for me on this one.
Yeah, Mendoza for me.
Yeah, Mendoza.
Well.
Now, Mendoza, is she already comptroller or is she from somewhere? Because I remember Mendoza, or is that somebody else?
Well, it's a fairly common name.
Yeah. I just remember it was
Yeah, we have two.
Okay.
We have one locally, and she's state.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We have one local. Yeah, and she's on here, so we'll come to her too.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I got to take my shots, man.
You on here.
I got to meet her. She came down to the to East St. Louis to an NAACP candidate for him. She spoke really well. I got to shake her hand. I was very impressed.
Right on.
Yeah. So.
Hey, I'm Mendoza too. Right on.
Go Mendoza.
Now in treasurer, we got Jim Dodge for Republican, Michael Furyk for Democrat, and Libertarian Lenahy. I don't know anything about these candidates.
Neither do I.
I'm
not going to vote on that because I haven't done the research.
I don't know anything about them.
Jim Dodge sounds like he's going to ride up there on a horse, though.
So now we come to our congressional district race. And this is where we have our gentleman right here, green candidate.
We got a candidate.
Our green candidate right here. And then we have Democrat, Brandon Kelly, and Republican Mike Bost. I'm voting green on this one because I believe in you, sir.
Well, who's here?
Right on. Right on. But as far as intelligent voting, I've just been seeing too much fighting back and forth between these two candidates, and they haven't been talking about the people.
And it's almost. I mean, I literally do watch both news sects. You know what I'm saying? I try to get so much of say the Fox News, so much of CNN, so much of Fox. Then I gotta go to MSNBC.
There you go.
And it's just like, man,
they're doing too much fighting.
And it's petty.
Dude, I watch YouTube.
Too
and I know all about the fighting on Kelly.
Because you can't watch a video because you have to.
Skip that.
It's either Kelly telling us Mike Bost isn't fit or Mike Bost telling us
Yeah.
I'll tell you the one thing Joshua said earlier that I would say is probably true up here, but not so much a little further down in this district. The newspapers and the radio stations and even the TV stations, they've been really nice to me, Joshua. I've been all over the place. This is my first trip up to Alton. They gerrymandered this district so that Alton would be in the 12th district. I mean, you guys are at the extreme northern end, and the district is about 5 miles wide up here. Oh,
well, we got to create a strong voice. Let them know.
Exactly.
Let them know.
Well, so historically, the Greens have done best in Belleville. Of all places, if you can believe that, have done second best in Alton.
Wow.
In terms of the votes historically in the 12th congressional district for the Green Party, Alton is usually the second most green, behind Belleville proper, which is a little bit strange. But there's a lot of people.
It's time for us to wave it out.
People in Belleville, so
let's get away from blind voting parties and come over to the green and let's build from the 10 values and build the people, because we're about the people. Okay, now we have. For representative in Congress, 13th is Rodney Davis, Republican. Betsy Dirksen Longrigan is the Democrat. Excuse me for pronouncing your name incorrectly, ma'am.
No, you got it. Londrigan. Yeah.
Right on. Hey, it is. It's like
how in church. I turn to this, and you trying to find this.
So,
Ecclesiastes 7.
You trying to ask somebody on the side? You see that?
And stand and put your hand up when you put your pen.
You silly.
Then we go to the same church. When you find it, say amen. And you don't never find it, you
just wait.
Amen.
Amen. Silly.
So let me say something about this one. So Rodney Davis is the incumbent. He's so we're sitting in the 12th district right now. Over across the street is the 15th district. Right. That's how it's all gerrymandered at the moment. And so here's what your current congressman is. He is a really, really right-wing guy. He believes everything Trump believes. He votes party lines straight down. He didn't used to be like that. Before Trump was president, he was a much more moderate dude. But I think what we've learned about him is, he's going to do what he's told, and he fell into line like they insisted that he did. Now, I've met him. He's a nice guy.
That the other day, I was like,
yeah, I know if anybody can understand paradigms, it's you.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wasn't trying to call. I wasn't trying to call all Republicans racist.
Yeah. Right. No,
but the party's racist.
I agree.
Okay.
Because now we're going to come to a candidate on here that's going to come into that type of question.
Because, like you said, he was more moderate. But then when Trump got up there and was saying everything he was saying, it was doing everything you were doing. And then you go ask these guys, they're like, well, yeah, I agree with him. You're like, or either that or you would ask him, you'd be like, oh, I don't know. I'll just leave it up to the president. The president say what the president said. Well, dude.
It makes you wonder whether there's anything down. I'm not going to finish that sentence, but so it makes you wonder if there's anything.
Because we do this. There's people out here.
It's like how,
it's like Baptist church. You can get a whooping there.
They ask well, you think all cops are bad? And I'm like, I think there's good cops, but good cops don't tell them bad cops.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Which makes them bad cops.
Like that McDonald's situation. It was like 10 cops on the scene.
Yeah.
Okay. And y'all know that it was one cop who shot. Y'all know he did something wrong, but when IA came and asked y'all questions, well, he was fearing for his life. So all y'all lying.
Yep.
Because they
when Randy King got beat, no one wrote up nothing.
Nope.
Hadn't been for the video camera.
We would have
never would have known.
To me, that's a degree of separation I like to talk to voters about when it comes to local and federal level politics and the degree of separation. If Davis is riding with Trump, now you got to look at Donald Trump. He's not thinking about Alton, Illinois, and Madison County.
No.
Donald Trump is not thinking about that. So our candidates that represent us, especially the incumbents, the guys who have been there, and he's an incumbent. You got a duty to the people who you're already sitting for. Whether their ideologies are away from Trump, being Democrat, or with Trump, being Republican, when you win that seat, everybody is yours. After you win that seat, no matter what party you are, when you win that seat, everybody is yours, and you have to look at their interests. And if he's going to jump on ship on the federal level with Trump and just ride that, I'm like, hey, ride with him. You won't get my vote. I don't even
care if you said it like, no, I like this that he did, but I don't like this, but then this is cool, but I can't go right.
But that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening.
I can respect that. That's not what's happening.
And you got to remember geographical location. Some of the things that Trump is spearheading and saying, oh, we got to this, that's going on in other places.
Right, exactly.
That's not what's going on in our geographical location,
those
not what we're voting
about. Like, man, fuck
you know what I'm saying?
Fucking God, Trump. Can't get back on him. Well, he's the president. We got to respect the office.
Democrat gets mine on that one, y'all. Democrat gets mine.
And it's possible. So that district, you're not going to believe this. That district not only has across the street Alton, it has Springfield, it has Urbana-Champaign. I'm not kidding you. This is one congressional district. Has Springfield and Urbana-Champaign in it, and Bloomington.
How do we get in there?
Gerrymander.
You
were gerrymander.
You feel what I'm saying? That's
gerrymander.
Yeah. And so Bloomington, Urbana-Champaign, Springfield.
Yeah.
And your neighbors over here right across 159. That's where the district starts, is across Highway 159.
I think the burn, is it?
Yeah.
So we're right on the borders.
Anyway, you're right on the border. But anyway, Rodney Davis can be beat because Springfield and Bloomington Normal and Urbana-Champaign.
So you get to the polls, people vote blue on that one.
Yeah, on that one.
We're talking to our demographic, and our demographic has been more known to vote blue at these social classes. Like I said, it's the higher rich. We done moved to this area. We done got us a wife of a certain standard. And we're there. Those are Republicans. But, on that one, the numbers count. This ain't an electoral thing. You get there to get the numbers, give them the vote. That one is blue for me. Now we move on to the legislative districts. And those are ones that I didn't get to. You gotta go by the TV. On those, I say it's going to be a red or a blue thing because it's red or blue races. Seth McMillan, Andy Manor, Steve McClure is running by himself. Jason Plummer and Brian Stout, they're running against each other.
I might have to Google they disc commercials.
The interesting one we come to for 56th legislative district is Rachel All Crow, Democrat, and Hal Patton.
That's gonna be a good race, ain't it?
Now, Hal Patton, of course, we all know he's Mayor Blackface. We know Everettsville as far as Madison County. We know as far as Everettsville goes with Madison County, Everettsville's economic gain, they've been on the rise.
On the rise.
And he's been the mayor this time while they've been on the rise. Now, whether he can take the credit for it, who knows? It all works all together, but he's definitely going to stand on that. And when I spoke to him, he stood on those things. Hey, look what I'm doing for Everettsville and this and this and this. Of course. He didn't address blackface, but he did address what he felt his accomplishments were.
Because I need to know about that.
Now, Rachel All Crow, obviously, she's a wonderful woman. She's backed by Bill Hayne. Senator Hayne, he's always been a good guy to me, always been a pretty decent mentor. I like Rachel All Crow on this one because that's the home team.
And she ain't had blackface.
She did.
Right. He could have been talking all types of cool stuff. I had my back turned to him, like, man, that sounds good. That sounds good. Oh man, you just lost me. It's over with.
What about yourself, Patton?
Oh well, I've met Rochelle and I think she's great. I don't know how Patton at all, but I like Rochelle a lot.
Right on. So, right on. Now we're gonna go to the representative districts. We got Avery Bourne, Republican, Dylan Clark, Democrat, Christopher David Smyer, Republican, is running by himself. We don't have to vote Republican if you don't want to. Charles Myers running as a Republican by himself. You don't have to vote that. No. Then we get to Mike Babcock, Republican, Monica Bristow,
this is
Democrat. Now, Bristow's the incumbent. She was grandfathered then, from what I understand. Beiser left. He said, hey, Bristol's going to be your girl. She did a lot of campaigns. She's very active. A lot of our elder demographics
is she related to the Bristows around here?
I don't know. That's a social demographic that wouldn't even let me come to the table.
I bet.
I'm just going to be real with you.
Tickets, though. Shout out to the Bristows.
Right on Bristol. But, and I gave her a lot of hard press because of her voting record. I did give her a lot of hard press, but then I sat down and I spoke with her. And her answer for that was an acceptable answer for me because when you win or when you're in that seat, you represent everybody.
Yeah.
Not just one particular base or the other. And her answer was, I got a lot of calls. And the question was, why did you vote no on equal rights ratification? She voted, now it passed, so it's no harm, no foul, really. But why did you vote no? Even though it passed, why did you vote no?
Yeah.
And she said that a lot of her constituency, meaning that people called and stuff like that. And in Alton, we got to understand that we do have people that get engaged and actually call the representative and say, hey, look, we got problems.
Oh, yeah. Check them newspaper articles in them comments.
So, she said that, and she did agree that she would get behind the amendment for further protection for victims of violent crimes from the media. She did agree that, bringing that funding to the House bill that would give grants for small business. She agreed that she would do that. Babcock, he's kind of just out
He's
there.
a real estate guy.
Yeah, I sat and spoke with him, and he said that he wanted to bring business and stuff like that to this area. But I think Monica, she'll hold more.
So Mike Babcock wouldn't be my choice.
There's a lot of guys that are probably going who are trying to take a page out of that Donald Trump playbook. Like, he was this kind of guy, real estate guy, rich guy.
Yeah, he's a rich guy with lots of.
Let me go ahead and try to do some of that myself. And I see a lot of them. If it wasn't no Green Party, you were saying, well, you probably want to go with the Democratic guy, which people just think because of how our community is. Well, you're just gonna vote Democrat. It's not. It's not really that. That's what it is. It's for whatever reason. That's the party that sounds the best to us because they are saying things that we can like, you know what? I need that. Oh, you're talking about that? Because the other party just seems like they just, you know. My dad used to always say he never understood why people in the South, you know, who are poor voted Republican. But my dad used to always say that. He's like, because, you know, those guys aren't the ones who are doing nothing for you. You know, they're going to go kick it back to the rich people. And you're steady the ones voting them in there, and you're in the same pot of, you know. You're broker than me.
Yeah.
You know, all those people in West Virginia who voted for Trump because he's thinking, my dad was a coal miner. And he was telling me as a little kid that the coal industry was gonna die out, and his mine eventually closed. All those coal miners in West Virginia voted for Donald Trump because he told them that he's gonna bring back the coal industry. I don't see how they believe that, but it was a lie. Now I just seen this on Fox News earlier that West Virginia's in its worst recession it's had in a long time.
Yeah, it's a dude running that's in West Virginia who voted for Trump but against him now.
Yeah, I bet he is.
If you're coming in pond trying to get it more engaged in politics, I'm going to speak for the home team, and you're a person of your demographic of the people. You want to be of the people. You believe in that democracy. Yeah. You know, to me, those are two parties are part of the same coin, two sides of the same coin.
Right.
You know, they're busy spinning and flipping and engaging with each other and neglecting issues that we all need taken care of.
And then this is my only thing with it. And I understand all that because I understand both sides. Like, dude, you're just trying to get it. Because I don't trust suits. I don't trust anything.
That's why I don't drink with them.
I don't trust the weatherman.
I feel like I'm going to be in handcuffs somewhere like, damn.
Pimps, preachers, politicians. You know, anything in that suit, I just feel like, man, you be lying.
Run a game, man.
Man, you gonna run that. But here's the thing, though. For whatever reason, it just seems like now is the time to where Republicans could come through and grab voters like me, because they could just say the right thing. Because I'm already kind of bored of it. They could just say the right thing. I'm like, man, but that's pretty good. It's like they don't even care. They still don't care. It's like, no, man, no, we're still like this.
We don't care about your vote.
Well, I ain't slapping nobody. What are you talking about? Leave me alone.
Well, see, now this is where we get to interesting, something relevant to that. Now we get to the county, and this is really important. County is that, you know, we already moved past, and we know we're voting green when it comes to that. Forget Kelly, you know, forget Boss. We're voting green on that one for you. So we moved past that. Now, on county clerk is Adler and Mendoza. That's the Mendoza that you're thinking of.
That's the Mendoza. You know that cat for you.
We signed a check or something, man.
Now, why does he know that Mendoza? It's because this woman has been fighting for our people.
There we go.
That's why he knows this name. This name has been familiar. She's been fighting for the people. She's been, you know, making sure that polling places stay open so that way we can all get to certain locations.
Yeah.
You know, aside from the Republicans in the county and the Democrats in the county fighting each other so vehemently over the past couple of years, you know, this woman as county clerk has been doing her thing. Right. To change her is to change the essence of that office.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The whole essence of that office would change.
You're going to drive to the state capitol, it's going to smell different.
For real. So now then we move to the treasurer, Chris Miller. Here's the relevancy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Live died.
Yeah, he gonna try to.
Okay, right on. Well, we still talk about it. Is it recording still?
Yeah. We all good.
Oh, well, hey. Yeah. Right on. Now, Chris Miller. Now, Chris Slusser is the Republican. He's the incumbent. He's been in there. We've seen news articles where even the Democrats have said he's been doing an awesome job. We get our elder group saying we think Slusser's been doing it. He's diversified his office and all that other kind of stuff. He has biracial, you know, children, beautiful family, you know, they adopted. He's a good guy. Yeah. He is a good guy. Mm-hmm. But for me as a voter, for him to say I diversify my office, you know, voters out there, I'm sorry, it's late. I'm not holding punches. I don't give a damn about how many people you diversified in that office. Man, you know, what are you trying to do for the people's jobs out there that don't qualify for your office?
It's called public relations.
You know what I'm saying?
Want to look good.
The people I speak with don't qualify for the jobs in your office, for one. What are you going to do to help them? Now, you know, still, you know, they say he's been doing an awesome job as far as professionalisms and stuff like that. But then we come to Chris Miller, the Democrat. Mm-hmm. I've been witness to this guy doing business incubator groups, to where he's bringing in investors right here in Alton.
Okay.
He brought in investors, people from our demographic. Keisha Broomfield won.
Okay.
Where they would have deluxe corporations, Sarah McGivney and them, and you could come in and you could kind of learn how to create your small business. And he had, professionals there and investors to come in and talk. So he's actually been working at the base level, trying to give people an opportunity to move up a little bit. So, I like Chris Miller's, engagement. What do you think about this one?
This is one I don't know about.
Okay.
Yeah, I live too far south for this one. I haven't met either of them.
Yeah, Chris Miller, I like Chris Miller. This one is such a tight race because under the professional curve, everybody says Slusser, the incumbent, the Republican, has been doing the damn thing on this job.
Right.
And he has diversified that area. When you look in the administration of that building, it is not very diversified. He like 200 and 300% times the other offices when it comes to diversity.
Right.
Yeah.
So
he over there knocking it out.
He knocking it out.
Okay.
Everybody is weighing in and saying he's knocking it out. But Chris Miller is running on the new blue. He's running on some new values. I can help the people. I know what you guys want. I've been actually working at the base level trying to help you. It's a toss-up.
There you go.
It's a toss-up.
It's a tight one there.
You know what I'm saying? It's a tight one. Sheriff, he's unopposed. Lakin is like Jesse White. He's probably going to be here. Okay, regional office, Rankin and Worden. For our people, Rankin is going to, he's Democrat. I don't know the other guy. Rankin and the other guy?
Don't know this.
Superintendent in the schools is just Mueller. That's it. County board district.
Hey.
This is where we come down to.
Should we take a shot here?
Wait. Take a shot. Take a shot right there. Take a shot here. County.
All righty.
Get it all in there. Get it all in there.
Got it.
There we go.
This is where, from my understanding, my senior would definitely jump in and correct me.
I don't drink this kind of thing. It's good, though.
These are the people, and I do say they have been arguing back and forth, but these are the people who together can really bring about some good stuff for your communities. And you go to them for things to come. If they're working together across party lines and they're working with the higher ups, then we could really grow Madison County into something beautiful.
What do you think about what they have done in recent years, say the last 10 years? How do you feel like the county board's been working?
Well, it's been professional, personal, everything all at the same. I did participate in a political science measure that happened with the county board director's position 2 years ago. In which case the incumbent Democrat was ousted, and now we have Prenzler. Well, now we have to hold him accountable to do things. And some of those things we can't say he's done. Right. But this is where we start to develop, representatives, and we put those representatives up there that's going to run against them in 2 years that's going to support our interests. Now, what they've been doing for the past 10 years is they've been majority Democrat control.
Right.
So that means that any, issues that you have in empirical value, like, we ain't had this in so many years, this area sucks for this. That's been Democrats, really. That's been the Democrats in control. But they've been so split at the county board levels. It's not been full Democrats all the time. It's not been full Republicans all the time at the county board. It's just the director or the chairman has been a Democrat for so long, But those people that sit there, they could actually hold accountability, from my understanding, and that's what I attempt to do if I sit there, is to hold accountability and make sure that the different subcommittees, health committee starts to work on things. I know bed bugs is an epidemic.
Oh man!
Yes.
The health committee needs to be on that because there are laws that are passed that give renters protection
over that.
If that situation happens, the landlord has to, address it. And it gives
these landlords right here need to be addressed. Period.
You're right.
Period.
Oh, y'all have that problem up here too, because we got that problem in Jackson County too.
Oh yeah,
the landlords are running the whole show.
Yeah.
And the county board won't do anything about it down there.
That's the thing is on the county board, these people can address your renter-homeowner ratio.
Okay.
Alton has a huge renter-homeowner ratio.
Something about that tax fee.
Well,
not the tax fee, my bad. The tow.
The tow fee?
The tow.
I think that's a city
that's
thing.
a city thing.
City
That's
thing.
Who do you talk to about that?
City council.
Yeah,
Mayor.
City council.
The mayor?
I'll definitely fight that fight and put it on video.
Man.
It'd be bad. Like, if Josh is here, it's something wrong.
Old dude from Fox 2 News try to get something cracking about that. They was like, dude, we don't.
Oh
So,
Lord, cuz off the chain.
now on your ballots, now this is talking to people out there. You might live Midtown, you might live Uptown, you might live anywhere. This part of your ballot will change. It's not going to be the same. Like as you look at mine, it's for precinct 22.
Right.
It's going to show different county board members. It shows me.
Okay.
Now, if you live in a different part of town, you might show either district county board member 1, which is just a Republican running. I'm not even voting. District 5 is a Republican Democrat thing. It's Mick Madison, Republican, Jessica Ellison Thomas, Democrat. I like Jessica Ellison Thomas because she's just one of those. She came to the aid.
A lot of fingers, but
Now let me tell you a story about Jessica. Do you know anything about these two?
Tell me.
All right. Well, Jessica Ellison Thomas. Remember we had the Slough Park Rims issue?
yeah.
One of the people who came to the aid. Now, this is before she jumped into these races. This is before she jumped into getting into politics or whatever. But she's got a group called AME, I believe, or Action Metro East or something like that she participates in. So she came to my aid as a mayoral candidate, like, hey, I want to help you level the playing field and help your candidacy.
Okay.
She came to me. I didn't even know her. She just came to me. So I was really impressed by that. And then she came to our aid with the Slough Park Rim saying, hey, this is a bad thing. We stand with the people, put them rims back up. She was there.
That was crazy.
She was there. Chris Miller running for treasurer. Now, the Chris Lesser thing, Chris Miller was there at the Slough Park Rim thing. He came and was like, put those rims back.
I would go, I could go with a lot of people. I'd go tell my wife, for instance, they took the rims away from Slough Park, and they'd be looking at me like, and?
For a woman, I'm gonna tell you, that's not our first priority. We do not care about basketball rims. Okay,
It's a factor.
I looked at it so much deeper than that.
It's deep.
It is deeper than
deep.
that.
It's
It
deep.
is, and once I talked to my mother, I was like, okay, you got a point.
Yeah.
Shout out Tammy Smith.
Shout out
by the way,
Tammy
fourth
Smith.
ward alderwoman. But once she told me and we talked about it, I'm like, okay. I'm seeing all this stuff on Facebook, and I'm like, what is going on?
Because when I was growing up, Slough Park was everything.
Yeah.
It was the center point of my summer.
Yeah.
For like 8 summers.
Yeah, them
You know
games.
what I'm saying? Like,
Well, the whole Slough Park thing was a huge ups and downs.
Uncle
and ups
Jeff
and
used
downs.
to
It was
run
a
the
fight.
little food stand up there.
But like she said, shout out to Tammy Smith.
Shout out to Tammy Smith.
And one thing in politics, and I know my senior could probably tell you, is they tell us when I first came in, don't take anything personal.
Oh,
And this was an old white guy. He
Mhm.
was Mr. Rakowski. He's the investigator for Madison County's public. He does all the investigations. Can't think of the department though. But the first thing he said to me is, "Don't take things personally.
It's hard though.
Don't let them take things personally." And that's super hard.
It's hard.
Trust me.
It
You
is.
you want to snap.
Yeah.
Especially in politics.
So you get
Yeah.
gray hair,
Yeah.
hair start falling out,
Yeah.
heart problems.
Yeah.
I had to step away
See
for
the
a second.
president take everything personal.
But
Yeah.
Tammy Smith, the end result of that Slough Park basketball rims thing, for me fighting for it, and Jessica Ellison Thomas was there, Chris Miller was there, a few others came there. For us, the major fight was to see it in equity with Gordon Moore, to where it had a commission, that could pull money from the city, that could gain money, do things just like Gordon Moore's been doing, and receive those same funds so that way we could get legacy. We could start to renovate it and do all those things and start to have different functions going on up there. Now, after all of the craziness that happened, that if you took it personally, you fall out. You be able to go there and snap City Hall. Yeah. Believe me, it's went through my mind. And I think I love my cousin. I love my cousin. But you know, the thing is now she's running a commission. And that was really the end result that Jessica Ellison Thomas and Chris Miller and we all came together for, was to get that commission. Tammy is running that commission and she deserves the support for what they can do for that park.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to say, well, we want these things and those things, they have meetings. Go to the meetings, get involved, become a part, voice your opinion, and then move it that way.
Yep.
You know, if you're talking behind the scenes, you are wrong. I'm just going to tell you that.
People be on Facebook just going on and on. Ain't voted, ain't did nothing.
The devil.
You know what I'm saying?
So as soon as you ask me, until you go to the meetings, they be having meetings? All right, log off.
Meetings?
What meetings? Fuck out of here.
For real.
Fuck out of here.
Did you weigh in? And y'all hear me say that quite honestly, quite frequently to everybody. Weigh in.
Yes.
Weigh in. No matter what I'm doing, you're out there, y'all talk. Weigh in. You know, you never know that your idea might be a perspective that wasn't thought about by the people who are associating that problem. And when you weigh in, you click an idea light bulb on.
There you go.
Right.
And you could fix a problem. So Jessica Ellison Thomas, she gets my vote on that one. We moved to, you know, District 6 is Hudson, Wesley, and I don't know anything about them. The Democrats is going to get my vote on that one. Board District 7 is the Republican is running unopposed. 9, Jim Dodd, he's a Democrat. That one, I got a great respect for Mr. Dodd. He's very up there.
I heard that name before.
He's been there forever. He's been a fighter on the Democratic side, on the people's side for unions. He's gruffy. He's like an old sergeant.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's fighting for unions, man.
He will cuss you out.
You know? Vote. I mean, it just is what it is, man.
I'll represent him, or I respect him. If he's still, and I know he's been going through some health issues, he might not make the meetings. And that's something that I take, you know, kind of personally, because I'm like, if you're supposed to do the job, you're supposed to be at the meetings.
Yeah.
So your vote matters, you weigh in, you vote, and then things happen in the county. But he's missed too much.
Hey,
but you're still on the ballot again.
Hey, look, it's 2018, man. We got to FaceTime him. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? So you can vote for him as the incumbent. Yeah, something. Something. Put him in so he can vote.
The doctor.
You know, but he's a fighter, and I respect him for the time he put in. Yeah. It's like a Mr. Gray situation, but he's white. Now you got to remember, Mr. Dodd's area is a minority area. It's in Mexico.
Right.
You know, so he's been representing black values. And if we ain't had no growth in Mexico and no growth in those areas, then we understand why. Because these people representing us like Bruce Malone and Mr. Dodd, they haven't really doing things. They've really been playing a systems game as Democrats. Now, we come to Bruce Malone. Tim Smith is the Republican. I don't know anything about him. I think they stabbed me in the back with that one.
Ooh.
I do think the Republicans stabbed me, and I'm just going to throw it out to Princeler. I think y'all stabbed me in the back with that one because y'all said that y'all weren't going to run a Republican candidate. Now, this guy, Tim Smith, came after the primaries.
Can't trust a guy in sweaters.
He just popped up, Republican. I'm like, damn, now it's 3 of us? You know? But, you know, I didn't run in a primary against Bruce Malone because I didn't want a controversial thing.
Yeah.
You know, primaries cause controversy.
Yeah.
And I didn't want a controversial thing. And the Green Party aligns with my ideologies better than what I consider a large portion of Madison County to have Dixiecrats, not Democrats, Dixiecrats.
It's the same in the whole Metro East. It's the same in Monroe County. It's the same in St. Clair County. A lot of those Democrats are Dixiecrats.
They're Dixiecrats.
And it's true all the way down where I live, too.
True all the way.
Conservative Democrats from back in the segregation day.
So which means, do you really think out there, our people, Do you really think that they're going to hold your interests at the forefront? They're not. They're going to get you, but they're going to get you with the crumbs. You're going to get the crumbs. And thank you for voting blind, by the way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to say. Now we move on. Everybody else, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. You're going to vote blue. But is
Bruce Malone the incumbent?
He's the incumbent.
Okay, yeah.
Now, he's just been sitting and chilling and hanging. Mm-hmm. We vote green, whether I win or lose. Everything that I propose, I'm going to fight for us for.
I'm
going to fight that bill come down. I'm going to fight that we get that amendment for us, whether I had to take it to the Supreme Court to fight the media on that one, because I think that's just a violation all the way around. Mm-hmm. That process is done in preliminary. Let it stay there. Don't over-sensationalize off of our victims and our families anymore. Yeah. I'm tired of our mothers crying. No more. Mm. That's what I say, no more. Now, at the end, if y'all want to cover it, it's just the things we're voting on. Do we get rid of the township?
Yeah, what's up with that? What's up with that whole thing?
Well, I think it's just one of those trends in state governments now. Mm-hmm. They're streamlining.
Well, so we got this. It's a statewide initiative. I asked around down where I live, Murfreesboro has a township hall and it has a township structure to go with a county board, to go with a city council. And so the question is whether or not the township is doing anything that isn't already getting done by the county board, by the city council. And some people say the township, the reason that they used to have them is because people who lived out in rural areas, they needed a place to meet to make governing decisions back when counties were a lot more sparsely populated than they are now. Right, yeah. And so they just say that, township has outlived its function. I have to say I'm neutral on the question. Down where I live, the township's not doing really anything, partly because they're not funded. So they don't control very much money, and right at the moment, most of the places I know of, the township is located in the middle of a town that also has a city government, like my hometown Murfreesboro.
Kind of like here, we got township and we got city government, like Godfrey.
I have no stake in this myself, but it looks to me like it's not going to hurt anything if it goes away. I haven't been able to find a single person who would tell me why we should keep it. We have a township hall in Murfreesboro. There's a township hall in Carbondale. It's available for us to rent out, but nothing ever happens there. Yeah. Except it's just kind of a civic space that you can
cool place to have a barbecue.
Yeah. That's about it.
But for us here in Alton, it's a little different. We had Julie Campbell. She's with the assessor's office. She weighed in over the Telegraph. So I guess you can catch her, article on the Telegraph and see what she said about what we'll lose. But as I read it, it just didn't seem like something that, really affects the majority of Altonians. So if they got rid of it, I'm kind of on the fence with that one. I know you'll lose some jobs, but, I say, Mayor Walker, if you can open up a new codes enforcement division, a brand new, he took police officers and put them into it. It's a brand new division. They got some crazy codes that they're enforcing. Crazy. It's crazy. You can't leave your garbage cans outside 24 hours before or after. They're gonna hit you.
I got enough from that.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
And people on my whole block leave they shit out the whole week. I let my trash out one day. Extra. I didn't pull it back. You know what I'm saying? And I got to know them.
I think it's crazy that the city it's crazy that the city can come around. If you get your car under a tarp parked in a driveway, that the city can walk back there, lift that tarp up.
And see if you got a place on it.
Man, I think that's crazy. Right. It was doing something my cousin the other day. I'm like, man, what the my dog tripping. I'm like, man,
we're trying to liberate our city.
Property though, right? Like, don't come on my property.
Man, it's laws, man. That's how they cook these laws up, man.
Well, so my question is, who wants the townships eliminated and why? Because I've not been able to, things don't just happen because they ought to.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting something from it somewhere. I haven't been able to discover what. So I'm not going to vote on it. I'm just going to leave it alone because I haven't been able to figure out what the agenda is. And there's always an agenda. This is Illinois.
I want to know about the weed.
The weed ain't on the ballot.
The weed.
weave.
Okay, now. All right, we give it in there.
The weave.
Do you know much about?
Well, yeah, sure.
I
I'm in favor of
I'm in favor. Yes.
100% legalization.
Yes.
And the decriminalization of addicts of all kinds.
Right on.
Being an addict is not a criminal offense, man.
Right on.
That's deep.
And so
you.
if I had my way about it, basically we would undercut the drug dealers because the government would supply the people who need it with what they need, along with the rehab that they need. It's a whole lot better than driving up the price on the streets and making the cartels rich. I mean, come on, every time they have a victory by busting, something at the Mexican border or whatever, or, they send in the federales down in Mexico. Every time they do that, drives the price up and makes the drug dealers richer.
Right.
I mean, this war on drugs is ridiculous. It's exactly the opposite. Well, and it drives the incarceration culture too. Yeah, in the sense. So an addict is not a criminal. An addict is an addict. That is a medical problem. And so there are plenty of countries in Europe where if you got a habit, you go to your local government or county official and you say, I got this problem. They look at it. They give you what you need as well as the counseling you need to get off of it. And the idea that marijuana should be illegal in any way, shape, or form is the most hypocritical. It is the most hypocritical thing in the world. So I can do that, but I can't do this. Come on. How reasonable is that?
This is the green takeover.
Absolutely.
It is the green takeover.
Well, man, Joshua, Randy.
Yeah, I want to thank y'all.
I thank y'all so much for coming down here, man. Get out there and vote.
November 6th.
Vote.
Go to, what was it?
Ballotready.org.
Ballotready.org. Ballotready.org. Y'all go there. Y'all check that out. I got this paper flying in my hand right now.
Well, you got early voting going on. Tomorrow you can go to the Scott Bibb Center here in Alton. There are other locations that you can go to if you're not in Alton, but we're Alton specific, so you can go to Scott Bibb Center from 9 to 5.
The Scott Bibb Center is
on Central Street. It's
by the hospital.
Yeah, by the hospital.
Yeah. And get out there and vote, y'all. It don't even matter.
Monday you can do early voting from 9 to 5 at the Scott Bibb Center and at Madison County at the administration building. November 6th is Powerhouse Tuesday. Of course, vote green. If you see green on there, just click it because we are for the people.
Click it. You know we like everything green. You like to smoke it. You like it in your pocket. You like to spend it. Vote that green.
It's green because it's for the people.
For the people.
Right on. So we know it's been a long show. We thank Live on the Riverbend for having us so that way we can give a no holds on the candidates and kind of just talk shit a little bit about this whole political process.
We appreciate y'all coming out.
That was what's up. I definitely want to thank congressional candidate Randy Auxier for coming. Thank you for
future
representative. Right on.
I thought you was about to do the show without the hat. Shit.
You know, I
mean, should we have been calling you doctor the whole time?
Oh, I don't care.
Throw
doctor out there.
You could. Well, sure.
I did my research, and he is a doctor of philosophy.
Most people gonna make sure you know that doctor coming out there.
There's no way.
And that's why I didn't throw it out there in the beginning, because he didn't throw it out there in the beginning. And that shows what kind of candidate that you are, that you're not standing on status.
You
know, you sat in here, you shot shots.
I'm not a politician. I'm a teacher. But I'm here to learn.
That's what we need.
Right on.
That's what's up.
You play in a band too, right?
I do.
Oh, man.
What you play?
He about to jump behind.
Wait a minute now.
About to jump behind. Look, Cam don't know what's going on. Cam like, what is this?
Is Doc about to
content? Look, he said.
Oh, snap.
Oh, yeah, you gotta catch all
this.
And he ready.
Oh, this is nice.
He ready.
Hey.
Playing drums on the show.
We about here. It's live on the Riverbend.
Right on.
Y'all know what's up.